It's time for Market Explainer, your number one business news podcast. Hosted by Danny and the big man. And it starts right now.
All right, this next story, hilarious to me, is that General Motors, only been wrong about most of everything that's happened in the automotive industry for the last decade.
That's not true, but go ahead.
Well, okay. I mean, they're naming all of their Cadillacs stupid names. They got rid of the unpronounceable, unrememberable numbers, and they're replacing it with names like Lyric. Stupid. It thinks
You
the
can't
average
judge a car only by its name. It's wrong. But go ahead.
Okay. So General Motors believes that the average car buyer will be spending about $135 in subscription features in the future. Now, there's a part of me that, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but it goes, you will own nothing and you would like it.
Okay, stop it. No.
Yeah, I know. Okay. No. I know. I didn't start. I'm just saying, Toyota did this with the new Tundra, where there's some features that are subscriptions. And you're getting away from a world, I think, and Tesla kind of ushered this in a lot of ways, where you buy something and it's just yours now, right? I mean, even my phone, like I don't actually own this thing anymore. Like I just, it's a lease, right? And so we're rapidly moving away from a world where you just own a thing. Like I have a car, I take it to a shade tree mechanic. He, fixes it up and he's like, hey man, you got to stop driving over curbs because, you can't keep popping oil pans like this. And I'm like, hey, you don't tell me not to off-road my mother's Kia, all right? So.
Well, but we've moved into a world. Here's where. Okay, I am on the fence on these kind of topics because from a consumer standpoint, you're right? The thought of adding $135 a month to, which I don't think GM thinks people want to. I think they don't care. I think it's just, okay, we can add this revenue
stream. We're going to do.
But so you're right, and people go, the first thing is, well, I would never, I'm not paying extra for something that should belong to my car or truck or whatever.
Right.
And that's fine for the last 100 years. The problem is we live in a technologically connected world that requires maintenance. If you have a car that has OnStar, for example, that's been around for a decade, right? 10 or 15 years.
More than that, yeah.
It
Probably
takes
20 plus
programming upgrades every time something changes. It takes maintenance or whatever. So General Motors, Toyota, Tesla, for example, has this still right now. You can pay an extra cost so that when driverless cars come around, you get that update and it comes to your car. Or you can say, no, I won't pay for that now. I'll pay for it when it comes out, but I guarantee it's not going to be $500 or $1,000, whatever it is now. It's going to be 5 times that, right?
It's $5,000 or $5,000 bucks.
It's not going to change any hardware in your car. It's going to be an update that comes down from the cloud, right?
Right.
So we live, all of these cars that are coming out, General Motors, Toyota, whatever, are going to have the potential to do a lot of the things that they want to charge you extra for because it does take maintenance from the business side. It does take somebody, it's not one time to make it a keyless entry, right?
Right.
From the cloud, from your phone, because Android's going to change something, or iPhone's going to change something that requires General Motors to change something that you're going to have to get an update so that you know what I mean? Whatever.
And so my thing, which is like, I bought a plug-in stick on your windshield navigation a bunch of years ago, and it came with unlimited lifetime map updates.
What were they called? Toms? Tom's was one of the big ones, right? Yeah,
You're thinking Tom. I don't know if it was Tom. I forget which one it is because, like a normal person, I stopped using it because Google Maps just got too good.
It had a couple of years where that's what you had because it wasn't on your phone for a couple of years.
It was on my phone. I just hated it. I hated I have to look at my phone and do the thing. But I don't want to have so many devices plugged in anymore. And most of the cars I drive now, you just plug it into the thingamajig and it does it. So, but I just, the reason I think this is interesting is I think we're probably moving. There's a belief that we're moving away from car ownership as a whole. and that most people are just going to lease or rent or whatever on a per use case. And I hate that idea, but I think there's some credence to it. I have an 18-year-old nephew that doesn't have a driver's license because he doesn't want to drive. And it's not like he's one of one amongst his friends. There's like two or three of them out of a group of 10 or 15 kids that age that are like, yeah, whatever. I don't. And like for us, I'm much younger than you, like so much younger than you. But it was like this is how we gain our independence a little bit. Is you turn 16, you get your driver's license, or if you're in Texas, you get a hardship license when you're 14. And you can drive your tractor to school or what have you, but that was how you got out. Like, but now it's
I've done that.
Right.
I've done it.
And I'm just saying, like, this is again lending credence to the earlier story about Meta, and it's kind of like, why would you buy a car when I can just pop a pill and plug my brain into the metaverse and
But it's
go
not
on
a mechanical
trip?
issue. It's not a car issue. It's a hardware issue. It's why do you have to replace your desktop every 3 to 5 years? Why do you have to replace your laptop every 3 to 5 years? Because the technology changes.
Advances.
Right.
And so like, for instance, Adobe took its Creative Suite probably 5 or 6 years ago now and turned it into Creative Cloud. Right. So I had Creative Suite 6. That was the last one that you literally got on CDs, and I literally have it installed on this computer right now. And the only thing I can do now is I have to go buy Creative Cloud. I have to pay, I think it's $20 per title, which is the Creative Suite has several. It's like $300 or $400 a year or something like that.
Microsoft did it with Word, right? All the Office products or whatever.
Yeah.
They've turned them into subscription. Now, I think it's important. Let's kind of run. So the only real idea that we have currently working is the 2022 Toyota Tundra. And I kind of want to, because I didn't realize not only are these different fees that you subscribe to, but you got to think GM's watching this closely to see how A, people react to it, and B, whether the services they're offering for each one is enough, right? That's going to be the gauge. Right. So for $8 a month, they have a Safety Connect subscription. You can pay for $8 a month. That includes automatic collision notification, meaning they'll call 911 if you're in a collision or they think you're in a collision, stolen vehicle location, and roadside assistance for $8 a month, right?
That's cheaper than what I pay for AAA, probably.
Right. That's one package. Another $8 package, completely separate $8 package, by the way. Right. The remote connection allows you to remotely lock and unlock your door from your phone. So if you're in another state and your wife forgot her keys, you can unlock it, whatever. Right. You can start your engine from your phone. You can honk the horn and stuff like that from your phone. Okay? That would be $8 a month, right? Now, that would be one of those things where you don't need it until you want it, but then you have to have it because you are in a completely different state and your wife has locked her keys in her car. I once drove from Austin to College Station at like 3 o'clock in the morning because my wife went to an Aggie game with a friend of hers that's an Aggie, not a Longhorn, and they had lost their keys somehow during the game. So I had to get up and drive to College Station from Austin with the spare key.
There you go.
To help them get in. But anyway, my point is, so that was $8 a month. For $16 a month, they have a drive time subscription where it connects navigation in
Smart Assistant
and stuff like that for $16 a month. Now, so we're already up to $32 right a month in extras. Or you can also, for $200 a year, put Wi-Fi in your car, right? Unlimited Amazon and Apple Music streaming. It acts as a Wi-Fi hotspot for all your kids' stuff for $200 a year.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that we've gotten to the point now where I think auto loans are at 72 months plus, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. I would think the average is the 72 months.
Yeah, because I don't think people are doing 48-month loans or 60-month anymore. I think we're at 72. So people are, because the cars have just gone up, like, Pandy excluded, shortages excluded. The price of cars have just gone up because government requires safety equipment. They're putting all this, like a Honda Civic when I was a kid weighed 2,200 pounds, right? And I know this because my buddies would buy Honda Civics. They put dry ice in the back. They'd pop all the sound barriers, everything, and they would put a H22B and turbocharge it and street race it. I mean,
Right.
legally down the track, perfectly legal down the track, nothing illegal about it. Definitely not on the street. Definitely not down an industrial boulevard. We've never run from the cops from having done any of this. But 2,200 pounds, right? Dry. Now a Honda Civic weighs 4,200 pounds. That's how much a truck weighed like in the 90s, right? Like that
Yep.
was a small pickup in the 90s. That's a Honda Civic. So we're just at the bottom of the barrel here. There's so much wiring technology that goes into these cars. Now, here's why I think this is interesting. Here's what I think is going to happen. Now, this is already happening where there's upfitters where they will sell a perfect head unit that will fit into your cars because, like Tundras, some of these trucks that have weird size things.
Oh yeah.
And it's a brand new, it has Android on it. It has updated maps. It connects into your phone, does all that. $300. So here's what I think will happen. I think companies like General Motors and all these companies will offer this. And this is what's happened with Adobe Creative Cloud. There have been open source alternatives and paid alternatives. So I use, I have my old CS6, Adobe Creative Suite CS6, the 6. But I also have Inkscape, which is a free open source, which is, hey, I've used the old Inkscape, but I use the most recent version. It's gotten really good. Like it's gotten really good. And then I have Serif Affinity, which is you kind of like they've knocked off a bunch of the features. So what I'm saying is, I think what's going to happen is, the general public is going to go out there, and as long as the 72 months that they own the vehicle, right, where they're paying the payments, or I think a lot of people are going to jump into leases because people of my generation don't know how to turn a wrench. And a lot of it is no longer wrenchable. Like you have to plug in a computer to do anything. So I think that, but people who do buy these cars when they hit the used market eventually, there's going to be an entire industry where we're going to pull out all the subscription crap that makes you subscribe, and we're going to put in an open source version of it or a paid one-time payment in this other company because you have no warranty from the manufacturer. So at this point, you don't care.
Well, okay, I definitely think that's going to happen as far as the availability of that.
Right.
However, like most times, I don't. People, I believe people will always do, even if they're complaining about it, they're going to do the easiest way. And the fact is with most open source products, like if I was going to go buy an open source thing that did all of these things, I would have to go buy it, pay for it up front out of my pocket, have somebody install it, and all this, and I would love it after that. However, or I could pay General Motors $8 a month. Or
just get it over with. Right.
Look, people are going to do one of two things. This is going to happen, by the way. This is going to happen. They're only giving this out so you can bellyache about it now, and then 2 years from now when it actually comes out, you're like, oh yeah, I heard about that. One of two things is going to happen. Either A, they're going to take $100 times 72, right? $7,200, and they're going to give you the availability of adding that to your loan. So, okay, instead of giving me $100 a month, or $135 a month, we're going to make it $100 a month, and we're just going to add it as part of your payment, right? And then that becomes the expectation. And two, they're going to put these packages together in such a way that you're just going to feel like you have to have them, right? Because that's what the average person does. Like this $8 for this, right? Like you said, that's probably less expensive than AARP, right? Or whatever.
AAA. Yeah.
Or AAA, whatever it is. But my point is so they're going to go, hey, that's another $8 times 3 million people, right? And that kind of stuff. So this is coming. I will say that there was a study included in the story that said 75% of consumers don't want to pay subscriptions.
Right.
Who the hell are the other 25% of people? Can I talk to that 25% of people that they asked, hey, would you like to pay for subscriptions on top of your auto payment? And they were like, absolutely.
Love it. Well, those are the people who I gather who make their own granola and compost in their backyard. Those people who are like,
come on, like who says yes? Who's the 1 in 4 people that were like, hell yeah, I do?
Well, I don't think they talk like that. I think they talk like, I think it totally makes sense, man. That way the government can have more access to your car. I'm like, that's better, you know?
Well, they've already, and here's why I say it's going to happen. They've already made that decision, whether they put it in this article or not. General Motors has already made it part of their, we were talking about earnings call earlier,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
companies project out. They've already projected, General Motors believes this will be a $25 billion annual payday by
Right.
what, 2030 or something like
25 or
that?
something. I thought they said
Yeah.
25.
It may have said 2025, but that's
Oh,
my
by
point. Is
2030
they
was the original.
project a $25 billion check on
Hey,
top of
yeah.
this by, you know what I mean, in the next 8 years. That means they're not going to
Right.
give up $25 billion a year just
Right.
because we're going to complain about it.
Oh, no, of
They
course
know
not.
we're going to pay it because people will. Most people will. Not
I mean,
all, but
listen,
most people will.
I know people right now who have no business going and buying a Suburban, but they have $108,000 loan on a Suburban that they park in a garage
Hmm.
for a home that they paid that they have a mortgage on that was 320,000. But they have a because I can't drive a minivan. And there might be a decent reason for that, but for most people, the company figured out how to get people these loans. These people are gonna like you paying
Hmm.
$1,000 a month on a freaking Suburban,
Yeah.
and then but if you're paying $1,000 a month, honestly, what's an extra $100?
It'll be interesting to see because here's the deal. If it catches on,
Right.
it'll be a moneymaker. Every manufacturer will do it.
Of
Toyota,
course.
General
Yeah.
Motors, everybody.
Right.
Um, if it doesn't, there is a possibility because you think of OnStar and satellite radio. These were
Right.
both supposed to be the next generation of everything.
Of
Everybody
course.
was going to have OnStar. Everybody was going to have satellite radio.
Yep.
But on the other end of it, because it is an extra fee, and
Right.
both of them are pretty nominal. They're not expensive things,
No.
right? But very few people pay for them. Now
Right.
they enough people pay for them for those companies to make money.
Right.
But they're not what they were supposed to be,
But are
right?
they going to continue to make money? Is the question that we, of course, are curious to understand.
Well,
So,
and who knows about that? Now, Danny always says, as we're getting to the tail end of this third story, Danny knows that when I find stories like this, one of my favorite things on all of these stories to read is the comments, what people are saying, these people out
yep.
there that read these articles are saying. Here's some of my favorite comments from this particular story. Number one, GM can go F itself. Right, like just to the point, you know what I mean.
I'm there right there with you, pal.
GM is clearly out of touch with reality. This is one of my favorites. I don't know what these people are smoking, drinking, and or eating, but they are clearly delusional.
Okay. It's not
And then
bad one.
of course, the one I think that's the most offensive is, do you, meaning General Motors, suffer from fetal alcohol syndrome?
That's offensive.
So obviously people aren't great and happy about it, but it was also very
Right.
clearly based on the commenters I was reading. These are a bunch of people that have owned their car for 25 years anyway. None of
Right.
these people that were commenting are going out and buying the brand new whatever that's going to
Right.
come with these
And,
services.
and there's part of me that believes that this is going to create a cottage industry of retrofitters and upfitters that are like, oh, okay, they're going to find a 97 Suburban and they're going to upfit it with all the tech, like enough technology that you want, backup camera, nav, all that stuff. But they're not going to have all of these subscription costs and they're going to charge you 50 grand. And everyone's going to be like, that's too much money. And then you go, well, it's 130 for the Suburban with all the subscriptions for
Mm-hmm.
72 months. And people start like coughing up the 50 grand for the older one because it starts to make more sense. That's what I think where we're heading.
I hope that in that next same 5 to 8 year span, those
Right.
retrofitters, because they already exist. If you go to
Right.
small car shows, like I'll take my boys on a Saturday to a small car show that's in some restaurant's parking lot or whatever,
Right. Right. Right.
and you already see classic cars, 60s and 70s cars that have LCD screens in them. They have backup cameras in them. They have full computers in them, and yeah, so you're already seeing this on what we consider classic cars, which I think is really cool.
Right.
Now,
I do
I am
too.
great for an old classic car that's mint
Right.
condition, whatever. Great, beautiful. However, when you make a car to you and you personalize it like that,
Yeah.
I just enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Like
I dig it.
seeing a 71 Chevelle with an LCD screen in it and
Yeah.
satellite radio and all that, just to me is cool as all get out.
Right.
However,
No, I agree
so
with you.
But the problem with it right now, the reason that's not more mainstream is it's still very expensive. And like I said, all of that cost is up front. You're not laying it out over 5 years. You're not laying it out over 7. You're not even laying it out on monthly fees.
Right.
It could be thousands of dollars up front for you to put this technology in your car. Right.
Right. And I think as the cost of new vehicles get crazier, I think a cottage industry will grow. And guess what comes with that? Cottage credit. Like, I mean, an industry of credit, because I already know. Here's what I happen to know. I know guys who run, cash only car dealers that they say, we don't do any financing, but hey, go down the street. These people will give you a credit card, and they'll give you a credit card for a silly amount of money. We'll swipe it, and you can drive away with a $4,000 car, paying 22%,
26%, 26, 27.
But they want it. So
if you remember, I don't know if you're old enough, and you mentioned radios earlier, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're old enough, but radios back in the 80s and 90s used to be this way. You had your normal radio that came with your car,
and
but it was all about updating it, right?
Yeah,
everybody took your standard radio out, put in, different Pioneer, all these different radios, put a couple of 12s in the back, right? And it was all about, nobody could afford all of them, but what they did is they went to these radio shops where you could finance at 20%, right? The $2,000 that it cost for those 12s.
Yeah. So I did custom car audio equipment. That was my first business in high school. And I got a catalog out of a car magazine. That was a scam. But, I started doing that. And at some point I went and did that at Best Buy. And I still remember like people coming in with mini trucks, and we had put in the Pioneer Avic N1.
There you go. Pioneer, JBL, Alpine.
Exactly. Yep. And they had the Fast and Furious screen, the toot 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 toot. And listen, I am those are so inexpensive today. I tracked one down for my previous vehicle. I ended up selling it before I put it in. But I bought it because it was I was like, I always wanted one, but they were $900 to $1,100 plus the $400 installation. And now Best Buy won't even put it in the car, right? They're like, we don't
detachable faces because people would steal them, and
all
all of this stuff. So
much fun.
That will just return, right? For these kind of products, where a business out there goes, hey, we'll take that shot, give you a, you know what I mean, a $2,000 upgrade on this car, but it's going to charge you monthly.
And there's one country that is so unconcerned by the legal ramifications of stealing a design. I'm not going to say which country it is, but
Hey,
anyway.
no. Anyway, go ahead. What's our next story, Danny? Let's dial that back.
Fine.
Retract.
Well, we have another story, but before that, we're not going to skip the sponsor for the segment because it's my company, Avenue Lucky. Of course, the big man wants to skip it. AvenueLucky.com is my agency that builds websites and provides done-for-you marketing services. Check it out, AvenueLucky.com. And if you go to the in-house projects page, you'll see all of my other fun little side projects.